All right, hey. Going with the triads, this is past the intro. This would be like video 2 for triads. Okay, so what is a triad, you say? Well, if we take a major scale, which if you remember from the class, a major scale, you start with a note, one note, and you go up 2 half steps, so a whole step, 2 frets. You go up a whole step, 2 frets from the root, and then from there you go up another whole step, 2 frets. Then for the 4th note, you go up a half a step, which is 1 fret. Then you go up a whole step, 2 frets, another whole step, 2 frets, another whole step, 2 frets, and then your last change is a half a step, which is a 1 fret. So I'm going to go, let's quit mixing this time. So from your root, you go root, whole, half, 3 holes now, whole, half, and then you're back at the root. So for guitars, that would be root, or starting point, 2 frets up, 2 frets up, 1 fret up, 2 frets, 2 frets, 2 frets, 1 fret, and then you're back at the beginning. Really easy example is the E string, low E string, E, F sharp, G sharp. So I'm going up 2 frets, whole step, up 2 frets, whole step, half step, which is 1 fret, whole step, 2 frets, whole step, 2 frets, whole step, 2 frets, half step, 2 frets, or 1 fret, sorry. So it'd be E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. That's a major scale. Okay, so a triad is what all the chords are made out of. Not all the chords, but all the basic major and minor and diminished chords are off of the 1, the 3, and the 5 from any of those starting points. So if we wanted to make an E triad, we'd go, here's the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 1. So I'd go 1, skip 2, 3, skip 4. That's the triad. So that's 1, 3, 5. Okay, 1, 3, 5. All right, so any starting point in that scale, you can do the same thing. And it might make a minor or a major triad. So a major triad, I'm going to pause there for a second. I'll come back to that. But anyway, so yeah, so on an E chord, those are all the 3 notes from the triad. It's either E, G sharp, or B, okay? So that's what I mean when I say a triad. Now, like in the key of E, for example, if I were to start at F sharp and only use the key of E, so I'd be starting here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, back to 1. I'm just using the same notes as the E major scale. You could still make triads out of that. It'd be 1, 3, 5. So I'd have F sharp, A, C sharp, my bad. F sharp, A, C sharp. You can do that for all of them. So there's a 1, 3, 5 in the chord, and then there's always a 1, 3, 5. Okay, so let me put this into practice and quit going on the theory here. So I'm just going to focus on the D string, G string, B string. So we can do them anywhere, but I think 3-finger triads are really effective. So we're going to be at the D, G, B string, D, G, B. Okay, so the first triad that you'll need to learn is the 1, the 3, and the 5. So I'm going to switch now to the key of G because it's kind of more, it's a little bit easier to see, I think, from the starting point of G. So a 1, 3, 5 triad, a major triad, would be ring finger. This is fret 5. Okay, so I'm on ring finger on fret 5, skipping to the G string, middle finger on fret 4, B string, first finger on fret 3. So that's kind of this little, I don't know what you would call that, what that shape you would call that, but that's a, I don't know, almost like an F chord shape. But that's a nice little deal there. 1, 3, 5, that's a major. Now, if you know anything about music theory, the difference between a major chord and a minor chord is a flat third, and that's the third. So if I were to flat that, go down half a step, 1 fret, that's your major, or sorry, minor. So major, minor is this. Okay, so if you need to memorize where all those are in your key. Okay, so if I'm going to be doing a G, and that's what the root is in the ring finger. Okay, so we're always going to have the ring finger root. And it's either going to be, I guess we could have a diminished, we'll do that in a second. So the diminished is actually relative to the 1, 3, 5 major. It is a minor third, so you have that, and it's also a flat fifth. So your shape is actually going to be, the best way to do it is ring finger, or pinky finger on the root. I'm doing the middle finger, hopefully you can see that. I'm not playing anything with my ring finger, I just can't get it out of the way. So it's like this, that's the shape. I don't really have good spread there, but that's the shape. It's a really funky sounding chord, but there's only one of those. It's good to do all these, but anyway, so for the key of G, you have 1, 3, 5. Wrong position. 1, 3, 5, that's G. The only other major chords in the key of G are C and D. So if I take my ring finger, find the C, which would be right here. If I have a D major chord, then I go, there's the D, right there. So if I'm going to spell that out for you, if you don't know where I'm talking about, that's on fret 5, or 5th position, or no, actually that would be 3rd position, but that's okay. Ring finger's on the 5th fret, ring finger up here on the 10th fret, C, ring finger on the 12th fret for D. Those are your only 3 major scales, or major triads in the key of G. 1, 4, 5, if you know what that is. Now you have minor chords, you have 3 minor chords. Your 2 is a minor, and your minor needs to be played with like this half bar on the B and the G string. B, G string, fret 5. Okay, so here is an E, that's an E on the 7th fret of the D string. Minor chord. Now that's a, no, that's an A, sorry. I don't know why I said E. So that's an E. I said it again. It's an A minor. And then here you have a B. That's where your B is. It's a B minor for the key of G. And then the only other minor you have is the E minor, which for us would be right there. You can also do open string. It would be like putting the fret down here, but you don't have one. The nut's doing the work, but it's also up here. So ring finger is on the 14th fret. Okay, so the diminished would be on the F sharp, which I would have to kind of go down here for that. Okay, so the best thing to do would be just to take your chord chart. Okay, so like let's say we have a chord progression that is G and then C and then E minor. Those are the big 4 chords to the D. In any key, the big 4 chords are the 1, the 4, the 6, which is a minor, and the 5. I don't know why I did it in that order, but that's my chord progression. 1, the G, 4, the C, 6, which is the E minor, 5, which is the D. So I'm going to play that chord progression. Here's how it sounds in open. To the C, to the E minor, to the D. So I'm going to do that with my triads with 1, 3, 5 in my fingers. 1, 3, 5. So I was doing G to C to E minor to D back to G C. So notice it's kind of easy because although I'm changing positions, like I'm moving locations, my fingers are in the same spot. I'm going to go down for the E minor, which I don't have to play those because the nut has it. And then D. Okay, so pretty simple, all right? You want to do those with all the chords that can be made in your key. So in the key of G, you have G, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, and then F sharp diminished. So what I wouldn't do though, by experience, I wouldn't just go up. I mean, you can say, okay, that root, that's my root, G, and that's G major. I can go up to A, which is the next note of the scale, A minor, and I can go B, which is the next note of the scale, B minor, go to C, which is the next note of the scale, right here, C, which is the 10th fret of the D string, D major, and because I don't have a cutaway on this one, that's going to be hard for me to hit. But I really should do it down here. Not playing very well, but that's okay. But I found that if I just go straight up there, I'm not really memorizing their location. It's all relative to the last thing I played, which is somewhat helpful, and you're learning the shapes. That's nice. So you might do a little bit of that. Okay, that might be helpful, or go back down. But you're memorizing things a little bit relative off the previous thing. So it might be helpful just to take a chord progression and do just that position and move it all around. So like I came up with this chord progression that does all the chords in the key, and it takes 2 measures to get through it. So it's G, and then 5, D, and then 6, E minor, and then B minor, 3, and the 4, which is C, and then the 1, which is G, 2, which is A minor, and the 5 again, and then G. Okay, so that's my chord progression. So I'm going to try to hit this. So I'm doing the 1, which for me would be G. I'm playing an A. How nice. A, D, jeez, G, to the D, to the E minor, which I could play here, since it's close, to the 3rd, 3, B minor, to the 4, which is C, to the 1, which is G, to the 2, to the D, back to the G. Don't remember where I went from there. 4 to 1. 2. So that's basically all with this shape, the minor shape. I'm not using my finger very well, but there's that, and then you just add this pinky. Or there's the diminished shape, which you only have to do once. Try to get my ring finger out of there, which is this shape. I don't know if you can see that, but pinky, middle finger, and first finger. That's the shape. That's a G diminished. In this key, we're doing it right here. Okay. But anyway, that's your triads with a 1 in the root. So you're almost always going to be doing that with your ring finger, which is nice. And then it actually just kind of gives you one thing to keep track of, right? If I know these are my shapes, major versus minor, and I know that that's the root, then I can just kind of use the fretboard to go, okay, if I'm playing a B major, that's my root, that's where B is. That's a major shape with a 1, 3, 5, okay? If I wanted to play I don't know, if I wanted to play a D minor, well, that's a D, okay, on the D string. And so if I did a minor shape, okay, so it does help learning those triads. You can play them anywhere as long as you know the shape, major, minor, and then diminished, you're good to go. Okay, I'm going to pause with that. We'll add bass lines on another video, another lesson. But I think from here I'm going to go to a triad with the 3 in the bottom, or in the bottom note is a 3rd, and then I'll do another video where the bottom note is the 5th.